Veterans with service-related injuries too often find themselves in debt, incarcerated, even homeless. Sometimes they need a lawyer to get access to help they've earned. My next guest does just that. She's assistant professor of law and the faculty director of the UCLA Veterans Legal Clinic, Sunita Patel. Ms. Patel, good to have you on.
Good morning. Good to be on.
Now, your program is more than just you as a lawyer giving legal aid to veterans. You get students involved so that they can get legal experience and also do some good at the same time?
That's right. The UCLA Veterans Legal Clinic was founded in the fall of 2017, and it has a dual mission. One is to provide much-needed legal services to the veteran community in Los Angeles County that seeks services on the West LA VA campus. Primarily, our clients are chronically homeless or housing insecure. But our second mission is also to teach students how to be excellent lawyers, and in particular when working with vulnerable clients and clients who experience poverty and criminal justice issues.
Do you petition the VA on their behalf, or are there other places where your legal services are needed?
We do a host of legal services here, actually. For us, serving low-income veterans, we're dealing with any issue that a low-income person would have. And so it's generally poverty lawyering, racial justice lawyering. We see primarily elderly veterans with a number of disabilities, and also many veterans who are people of color who find themselves without housing and without shelter. And so specifically, our docket primarily consists of veterans' benefits petitions, so to assist disabled veterans who are unable to work or find employment as a result of their disability or injury that arose in service. And that touches so many different areas for veterans, whether it's GI or vocational rehab, disability benefits. There's a whole host. We also provide some fundamental core issues that come up for houseless LA residents, such as helping to clear fines and fees for the exorbitant fines and fees that come with tickets and citations that are really an everyday part of being a homeless person in LA County.
So therefore, what you're seeking is not always available from the Veterans Affairs Department.
That's right. We look at this really holistically and try to assist the veteran with multiple needs that they might have. We have a really unique partnership with the School of Social Welfare, where we're trying this year to have a social worker and a social work student also provide some assistance with the non-legal components and the non-legal needs of the many veterans who walk in our door. And
we should note that your door is actually in a VA facility, correct, that you lease space from?
That's right. We're located right across the street from a welcome center on the West LA VA campus, which is, a campus with, I think, almost 300 acres of property that was deeded to the federal government in the service of veterans and their family members. And so we have an arrangement with the VA where we have four small offices in a building, and we see hundreds of people every year and try to help them either directly or providing brief advice, like writing a short letter for them if they need that, or connecting them and giving them what we call warm referrals to other legal service providers in areas that we don't assist. For example, family law, we don't directly assist in family law. So it's a big job. It's a tough job. It's a privilege for me to work with veterans and with this community, and it's really in the trajectory and in the line of my tradition of as a civil rights and a social justice lawyer. Working with veterans has helped me to see that the concerns that veterans have, particularly low-income veterans, is a really missed opportunity within the civil rights and social justice world.
We're speaking with Sunita Patel. She's assistant professor of law and the faculty director of the UCLA Veterans Legal Clinic. What have you seen as the common, or is there one, a common denominator that seems to characterize those veterans that end up falling between the cracks economically and socially?
I think for many of our Vietnam and some of the earlier era veterans, there was a lack of really a great understanding of the trauma and PTSD that the veterans were experiencing, and that has led to years of lack of services, lack of connection with the VA, lack of medical care that has led many people into coping through other mechanisms, whether it's alcohol or drug use, that have led to downward spirals for people. It's really amazing to see how people have lifted themselves out of those circumstances through the assistance and the support of the VA healthcare system, and the amount of resilience that is required to do that. But we do see multiple levels of trauma with many of our clients. The other factor is that the folks we see were low income and had experienced trauma perhaps before they joined the service. And so the statistics and the psychiatric literature shows that those individuals are more likely to experience combat trauma and the other things that they see and they witness and that they're called to do in a way that is going to lead to a long-term traumatic experience or mental health consequences.
And it sounds like the Veterans Affairs Department does well insofar as it has services that can offer medical services, but there's a gap, I guess, if you looked at the veterans holistically, and that's what you're trying to fill.
That's right. I mean, I think some of our clients feel shame around their service. They don't consider themselves veterans, or they may not even qualify under the legal definition of what is a veteran, even though they have served. And so we don't, that's not a barrier for us. We serve anyone who has military experience, and we really, try to actually take some of the more challenging cases and the cases that are going to take more time to investigate and research, because we have excellent legal service providers for veterans in LA County. We're very fortunate around that, but most of them have very high caseloads and very high demands on the time of the attorneys, and we're in somewhat of a unique position because we work with students and we don't have those specific demands to take cases that are slightly more complicated and can maybe affect the lives of individuals in ways that perhaps other providers may not have the resources or the time to devote.
And I guess there are a group of veterans or people who served that have less than honorable discharges, and they fall out of the VA's service system. So that's a kind of a double challenge.
Yes, and so it gets very complicated depending on your discharge status, what you qualify for. That's right. The majority of people we see actually are able to qualify for services, and often what we're doing is trying to take a large body of medical records, evidence from their time in service, and help the VA to see how their service-connected rating should be increased, or even to get additional services. For example, we have one gentleman who we're helping who is over 60, African-American, and has been in prison before, and he is really homebound right now and really struggling with multiple mobility and health issues. So he's already been deemed 100% service-connected because of his post-traumatic stress disorder. However, he really needs other assistance in his home, and bathing, taking his medications, etc. And he's entitled to that under the VA regulations and the VA law, but he's been denied that assistance multiple times. So we have been really trying to work on his behalf to get him that care that he needs, which will allow him to be more mobile, get out of the house, which will really help his mental health, and to have better family relationships, and to do all the things that he needs to be a person with more dignity and more access to the world around him.
Sunita Patel is Assistant Professor of Law and the Faculty Director of the UCLA Veterans Legal Clinic. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
We'll post this interview at federalnewsnetwork.com/Federal Drive. Hear the Federal Drive on your schedule. Subscribe at Apple Podcasts or Podcast One.